What is up, everyone? If you've been on Smash Twitter for the last couple of days, you've probably seen the hashtag #BanSteve, hashtag please hashtag. Basically, this coming after Steve just won the Givitational, which was an invitational event, in-person event comprised of some of the best players in the entire world, and a lot of people are talking about it because a 16-year-old Steve player named Nicola, who comes from Japan and is just starting to play offline this past year, won the event pretty handily, along with the other Steve player, Yoni, only dropping 2 sets total the entire tournament, which is kind of crazy for a character that a lot of people slept on, and now people are calling for him to be banned. Along with the character Kazuya, who was played by Riddles and Ferps, Riddles who got 3rd place, and Ferps who didn't place very well. I think he placed either 13th or 9th at the event, but was still pretty dominating, and people are considering banning both of these characters. I'm going to tell you today why it's very hard, almost impossible, to ban these two characters. First of all, I want to put these two characters in 2 completely different categories. First of all, for anybody saying to ban Kazuya is just absolutely ridiculous. Kazuya is a character that is 0 to death combos with his electric wind god fist, which basically stuns you. You can drag your opponent back down with Nair, and then you can continue to do combos until they die, which is basically why people say he's broken, because he can kill you off of one grab, which people don't like. The problem with that is that Kazuya does have counterplay. He's a very slow character. You can camp him out, and there's lots of characters in the games that he just straight up loses to just because he's not that oppressive. So anybody actually talking seriously about banning Kazuya is pretty silly. Now, banning Steve, on the other hand, some people may say that they have a legitimate argument for banning Steve. Steve is a character similar to Kazuya in speed and jump height, except for the fact that he has everything else better than Kazuya pretty much, except for having electric and some of the best and some good aerials. Steve has everything you could ask for in a broken character. He has great materials, he can camp, he can play aggressive, he has great combos, he can kill you off of a grab, he has quick 0 to death combos that can kill you from anywhere on the stage, he has an insane recovery, he has the best move and probably the second best move in the entire game, and he's not super light, so he doesn't die very easily, and he can prevent himself from dying by blocking himself in at any time he wants. This combined with the fact that he has very little counterplay discovered so far. So far there hasn't been really any character that's like, oh, this character absolutely demolishes Steve, or Steve is just so, you can't play Steve if you're going against this character because this character is so good. Steve just reigns supreme in that matchup category, which is why some people are considering his ban. The problem with that is that the reason he'll never get banned is that for some reason in the Smash community, it's really hard to get a sense of unity. This is really evident in the past when you think about other characters that probably should have gotten banned and didn't. Like in Smash Bros. Brawl, when Meta Knight, who was the most oppressive character in the game, was only banned in certain areas for a time. Meta Knight was so broken that the entire meta revolved around him. Your character was only good if they could defeat Meta Knight, which basically no character could do. The only character that Meta Knight went even with in the game was himself. If you weren't Meta Knight and you weren't playing Meta Knight, you were already at a disadvantage. You just had to be better than the other Meta Knight player if you wanted to win. And he represented, I think, over half of the top 8 characters that people played. So he was so broken, but he was only banned in certain areas because people were so upset, especially since most of the top player cast was Meta Knight players. They didn't want to have to learn a new character, and they were upset that all of their time wasted training the certain character would have gone to waste if he had stayed banned. And then this happened again in Smash 4 when Bayonetta was released. Bayonetta was the most broken character in the game by far. People were reporting that they were able, like random people would just be able to pick up Bayonetta and all of a sudden win tournaments, when previously they weren't even able to make the top 8 at tournaments, right? So this character was just carrying so hard. She had easy combos to do. She had the best combos in the game. There was the only really counterplay was SDI, which wasn't always reliable, and there were certain combos that were impossible to SDI out of, which meant that you were going to die if you got hit at certain spots. No matter what character you were using, no matter what you did to avoid those combos, Bayonetta was just so broken that she could do that at any point in the stage. And you got compilations, like, you have so many compilations on YouTube of just Bayonetta absolutely destroying people at random %, and people were calling for them to be banned. It got so bad that people were starting to attack the players of this character, which is something that you should never do. I'll preface that right now. If there's a character that's ever broken, like a Steve player or any type of other fighting game character that's really broken, you should never harass a player because they play that character, right? They're doing the smartest thing that they can, even if you think it's degenerate or if you think that it's like shameless to play a certain character. They're playing the best character in the game because they want to win. There's no problem with that. Like, if you have a personal problem with that, that's fine, but you should never attack the player for it. But it was getting so bad in Smash 4 that people actually started to attack the players, not physically, but they started to harass them. And in Smash 4, and one of the most famous moments of Evo, where the two players who met in Grand Finals were both Bayonetta players, Captain Zack and Lima, and they decided to sit there and basically just hold gun, which was Bayonetta's move, and they just held it and charged it for almost 5 minutes in a sort of protest to protest all of the people that they had been harassing them or that had been complaining about Bayonetta, just to kind of like make fun of everybody. And it got so bad to the point where the EVO administrators had to come down and tell them that they had to play or else they would get disqualified. So, and even after all of this, Bayonetta was still never banned once in the entirety of Smash 4's lifetime. It was banned she was banned in certain areas of the world for a certain period of time, but there has never been a unified ban on a character in Smash ever before. And this is because there's so many different communities. For example, even though Meta Knight was easily the best character in the game, there was never a consensus in every single community that he was unbeatable. It was widely spread that the Japanese community never thought that Meta Knight was so unbeatable, and that they still used him so that if they had come over to the US and Meta Knight was banned, there would be no point in them coming back anymore, which was a main reason that Meta Knight did stay unbanned. Another thing is that Steve doesn't really have the results that these other characters have yet. I say yet because Akola, who is the #1 Steve player and who just recently won the Invitational, he does have one of the most impressive records, and I mean impressive records. Ever since he was an online player originally. Ever since he came offline, I think about a year ago, he has not placed lower than 3rd at a tournament. His lowest placing was 3rd. Every other tournament he's played, he's either gotten 1st or 2nd at, and he also set records for being the youngest player or one of the youngest other players to ever win their first super major and major that they attended, which is something that you pretty much don't hear about anymore. The last players to do that were MKLeo, Nairo, and I think Gluttony. But this is just something that you never hear about, which is an argument that will get a lot of people angry, is when you hear about a young player, right? They'll be like, oh, why is this young player he's just picking up this character and he's just winning. He's beating all of these experienced players who've been playing for a long time just because he was picked up this character and he started abusing this character. But so far we've yet to see any other big players just pick up Steve and start winning, which I feel like will change. Some of the biggest Steve players we saw were like online players. I know Didi he placed I think 7th or 5th at a recent major that he went to, but so far we haven't seen any super dominant Steve players other than Akola. I think his total record is 57-3 offline, which is pretty insane. But so far we haven't really gotten that one person that absolutely, like, it's so unstoppable. And so far Akola has not played MKLeo yet, which remains to be for a lot of people. That one matchup, like, if he can beat Leo, then maybe he is broken, right? He's played multiple other top players, and they've all said that, yeah, he's really good. Steve, by the way, if you don't know, the best move in the game is definitely Steve's block. It prevents him from dying, it gives him tech chases, it gives him 0-to-death combos, it gives him a way to camp, it gives him everything you would want in a game, and it protects you, it does setups, it's literally everything that you could want in a move. It is easily the best move in the game, and no contest. And Minecart is probably a close second, just because of how versatile it is, and just how fast it is in general. It's just an incredible side B move. But what do you guys think about banning Steve? Do you guys think that in the future that Steve will ever really get banned? Personally, I don't think he'll ever get banned, just from being in the Smash community from a long time. People just can't seem to agree. I've also seen the take that this is like bad, that people are like silly for talking about this. I don't think it's ever silly to talk about a character. When we were talking about Hero being banned over a year ago, a lot of people had some silly arguments like, oh, RNG should be banned, which is silly. That was a silly argument. But the whole argument revolving around, if you were facing an opponent that didn't speak the same language and the menu language, they couldn't read it, how would that be fair to them? They wouldn't know what attack is coming, right? So that was a valid argument for banning. So far, I don't think anybody's really run into that issue because hero isn't really prevalent in the meta. There aren't many hero players. But I do think it's healthy to have a discussion about banning certain characters, because a lot of times people are just like, oh, you're just complaining because a character's broken. Well, it gets to a point where a game just becomes stagnant. We haven't really had a storyline in Smash in a long time, and I think banning Steve, or having the discussion of Steve being banned, these characters being super broken, is good and healthy for the community. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Steve will be banned anytime soon? By the way, if you still think Kazuya should be banned at all, you're just silly. I don't know what to tell you. Steve is completely levels above Kazuya. Kazuya might be high tier, while Steve could be top 5, probably top 1 in the game potentially. We just have to see. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.